Megan, how do you create value with social? What are tips and tricks have you learned that you can tell us today, riders on the call looking to elevate their value through social? What can we do?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me back on, Alex. And I do want to apologize in advance. We are at the racetrack right now. There's a brand new drag strip outside of Kansas City. The first race for NHRA is this weekend here. And so we're here today doing some licensing for a new driver. And we are parked as close to the racetrack as you can get. So
We'll
I
hear it.
am sitting in the trailer. This is the quietest spot that I could find. And I'm hoping like using my AirPods, it's not going to pick up on the background noise. But if you do hear it, cars driving by in the pits or on the track, I do want to apologize, but I will, do my best. But yeah, I mean, there's been so many great tips and advice shared already between all the speakers. Ever since the beginning, I loved what Jackie was saying to be consistent with your posting, authenticity, like what everybody else is saying. And I loved the last session that they talked about providing an entertainment value. And social media is your own soundboard to tell your stories. But like they said, athletes aren't really taking advantage of it because they don't want to put in the effort. And so I was early to the game with social media. I'm a millennial. And so I grew up, with the internet as it became social media. And so I've always been around it. That's where like I have, a good background with it. So people come to me with their questions. I have been able to grow a good following with it. And actually, I was looking through the data, and I was going to make a blog post about this pretty soon for my website. But I have been tracking the analytics myself for about 10 years now on all of my social media posts. And I have a spreadsheet for each year, and I have the numbers, like what Fran was talking about, the likes, comments, video views, shares, impressions, all that type of stuff. I have that all tracked. And I went back and looked, and it's like, what was my following when I got started before I went pro in NHRA? I had 1,700 followers on Instagram, which nowadays like might not sound very much, but back then like that was pretty decent following. And I went and looked through the data, and I grew 300% my first year. So I went from 1,700 to 7,000 followers my first year on Instagram. And so I think it's because of two things. I posted consistently, and I tracked the analytics for my posts. And what that did was I was able to see the types of content that my fans and followers
Nice.
liked. So then the next year, I just, I categorized them, and then I just stuck with those categories, and then was able to go to from 7,000 to 10,000 within a couple months. And I signed my first six-figure sponsorship with that. And so
Nice.
because it was mostly because of social media and the content and how I was growing. So sharing behind the scenes content, like the stuff that you don't normally see on TV, that type of content does really, really well for racing. And whether it's your training or, you're putting your helmet and gear on, or even if you just talk to the camera and tell them how you're feeling and how the results went, even if it was good or bad, that type of content always does really well. And it does not have to be very professional or a high production type of video or photo shoot. And, nowadays with social media, we're seeing kind of a trend where the less edited videos, like like if you look at on TikTok, the ones where it's like, you know, like, they're just talking straight to the camera and added a couple of captions to it. Like that type of content does the best. So it's really easy to make content. It's just hard for people to take the time to do it. And then, like I said, tracking the analytics, that way you can see what does well and what doesn't do well. Like I said, that was a game changer for me. And whether it's engagement, so getting messages and comments from people, or getting more video views, because I was able to see, okay, like a picture that I post of just my car, it might be a really great picture, but say it only gets 10 likes versus a selfie that I take that might not be, good lighting or might be kind of pixelated. Maybe that gets 100 likes. Okay, well, that tells me people want to see my face more on my social media and hear from me than they want to just see the car on the track. And so that's where I was able to look at the data and kind of categorize my content. Of course, like what we've been talking about, you want to have consistent branding with it. And, you want to make sure that it looks professional, but also when someone's just scrolling on their phone, you want them to be able to know, hey, that's you. Like, even if your face isn't the first thing they see, you want to make sure someone knows that video came from you. So using like the same fonts, the same colors, same type of editing style that you do with your post is always going to help you stand out from everybody else, because there are millions of people on social media.
And then
then
you also
like,
told me once that you can repurpose content. If there's a post that's a few
yes.
months old that did really well, it's okay to repost it.
Yes, I am a big advocate for reposting your content. No matter if it's a picture or a video or carousel, I like to wait 60 to 90 days before I'll reshare it again. And I only do this with the posts that perform the best for me. And sometimes it is a like sponsor promotion. And one of like our best examples is a video of, it was very simple video. It was just one of the crew guys pouring a gallon of oil into the oil pan. And then they go and take it to the car and bolt it up on the block. And it got like 200,000 views and comments like the first time I posted it. I posted it exactly 1 year later, used the exact same caption. I did do a little tweaking with like the color correction on the video the second time around, and it got over 500,000 views.
Wow.
The second time I used it, the exact same video and caption. And so like, I don't have to put any more work into it. I'm able to get a lot of mileage out of the content that I do have. Because I think one of the misconceptions that racers and athletes have is that they think they need to create new content all the time. And that's where it takes a lot of time. And that's where they get scared, or they're just like, I have no time or no effort to put into this, so I'm just not going to do it at all. And that's not true. You can reuse good content that your audience liked in the past, because you are constantly growing, you're constantly reaching new people. And so 60 to 90 or a year later, you're going to have hundreds or maybe thousands of new people that never saw it the first time. So it's just going to increase that shelf life of that piece of content.
That makes a
Megan,
lot
do
of
you
sense.
ever
And in
share
fact,
that? Sorry. Megan, do you ever share that content with the sponsors for them to organically post on their own channels as well?
Yes, good question. So we do. So one thing that I make sure to do is after each one of our races, I upload all of the pictures and videos we have to Dropbox, and then I will sort them into different folders. And so there'll be ones where it's like, just general, this is the driver, this is the car, but then we'll do ones that are more specific to a sponsor, like my sponsor right now is Gunk, and Gunk makes brake clean and hand wipes and cleaning supplies that we use in the pits. And so if I get a picture or video of one of the guys spraying brake clean on a towel and wiping off the car, I'll put that into a folder for Gunk, send that to them in a race recap report. I try to send it within 24 hours at the end of the race, and then that way they are able to have access to those pictures and videos for them to use however they want to for their pages.